I'm Natalie. I'm founder and director of Natalie Hewitt Events, a UK-based wedding and party planning company. And this is my series, How to Plan a Wedding. I'm going to be interviewing my industry friends to find out how they got into the industry, what's really involved in delivering a wedding, and they're going to share some fantastic advice to help you plan your wedding. Now, these interviews aren't designed to be too long. I want you to be able to listen to them on your commute to work, whilst you're walking the dog, or during your lunch break. I've worked in the industry since 2012 and I live and breathe events, but I completely understand that for a newly engaged couple, the whole process can be incredibly overwhelming. So during our conversations, we're going to introduce you to the wonderful world of weddings. We're going to let you know what to expect when dealing with each supplier category, and we're going to share some fantastic advice to guide you through the process. I'm Natalie Hewitt, and I hope you enjoy the series. Today's episode is How to Plan a Wedding with Justin Hammond from Forta Productions. And what Justin doesn't know about production isn't worth knowing. I think production is one of those misunderstood and overlooked supplier categories, so I'm going to be really excited to chat to Justin today to pick his brain about everything to do with production. He, by his own admission, wasn't a hard worker at school and then, dare I say it, found his calling when he left. Let's ask Justin a little bit more about how he got into the industry. Hi.
Thanks for having me.
You're more than welcome. Thank you for coming.
No problem at all. How did I get into the industry? So, yes, as you said, wasn't particularly interested at school.
Who was?
Finding X on the algebra wasn't the most exciting thing to do.
Yeah.
But then I think what was quite fun was like a really good theatre. Mm-hmm. So I learned a lot, spent a lot of time in the theatre, doing lighting, sound, learning everything there. A lot of set build and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And then kind of as I got a bit older, I kind of got the option to do less at school.
Yep.
Started working in a great scenery workshop near Cambridge and doing all sorts of West End theatre shows, fit-ups, build-ups, all over the place, which was fantastic. Mm-hmm. And I kind of saw the lighting guys. I thought that looked quite interesting. So kind of moved towards the technical side of things.
Yep.
And then, really enjoyed the technical elements. I thought this is something I enjoy doing. And then kind of fell in and discovered the wedding world, the corporate event world. And that's kind of a very brief, 10 seconds of how I got into the industry, basically.
Good elevator picture. So how old were you when you first started your very first business?
I was probably 21. Mm-hmm. And we had some lighting, some sound. We kind of had an okay kit. We kind of did some basic weddings. And then from that, we kind of met bigger and better clients, better wedding planners, better corporate events. And we kind of grew from there, really.
I mean, you've established a fantastic business, so well done.
Thank you.
A lot of my couples, when they first book me, we'll create a budget tracker for them and we'll go through it and they'll say, what's the line item for production? They just don't understand what that encompasses. So for anybody that's not quite sure what it is and what you do, can you let us know?
It's tough. I think production can cover so many things, from the power for the oven kitchens to stages to dance floors to microphones to the band. Mm-hmm. So I think, yes, a production line, I think we always try and break it down as much as possible. But it is literally everything from, as I said, powering up the kitchen, building the stage for the band, dance floors, aisles, carpeting comes under production, mm-hmm. as well as lighting, sound, DJ booth, DJ equipment. So it covers a huge amount of things.
Yep.
But people do lump it all in under one line production, and there's normally a scary number after it.
Mm-hmm. Because I think you do so much. And I think for couples that don't understand or don't think they need production, actually, if you don't, it's the visual, it's the pretty, but it's also the practical. And if you don't get it right, you can have some problems. So I think you do really need to sit down and talk to a production company to see how they can support you during your planning.
Totally agree.
Yeah?
Yeah, of course.
So what I would like to know is, from the process of getting an inquiry through to the end of the wedding and you saying, right, job done, what is actually involved? Because I liaise with you via email. Yep. I've seen you guys beavering away on set, to build a wedding. So I know there's a huge amount of work involved in that bit, but I don't see the bit beforehand.
Of course.
We don't see what we don't see. So if you get an inquiry from a couple, where do we go from there?
So first of all, we have to basically work out what to charge for the service. So the only way to do that is to really kind of immerse ourselves and find out every element, every step of the journey and everything that they want to do. So for us, the main thing is literally working out the wedding.
Yep.
We need to know it kind of as well as you do, if not better, because when you're getting ready or having photos taken, there's always something happening further down the line.
Yep.
So it's kind of process as, we follow the guests slightly ahead of them. So we just need to know everything.
Yep.
And the sooner we know about it, the more we know about it, the more actually we can cost it. If it's like, oh, we're going to get married on Tuesday, or it could be a Tuesday these days, lots of Tuesdays.
Yep.
We're going to get married on this date next year. Then it's just, we need to work out exactly where we're going. What time are you starting? When are you going to do your wedding ceremony? When are you going to do your drinks, reception, dinner, dance floor, stuff like that? We need to know every step. Then we can really cost it accurately.
Yep.
Because, if we're going to finish at midnight or 2 a.m, there's a staffing difference. Can we actually de-rig that evening? Can we actually make noise at 2 a.m? Normally your guests are sleeping. They don't want to hear any noise, in the other parts of the venue. So it's really getting to know all the detail, which gives a very accurate costing.
Yeah. So because if couples want to make a decision on who to book based on the bottom line figure, because I'm assuming that's what a lot of people will do, they'll send you an inquiry, they'll ask for a bit of a rough quote. What would you say?
We always kind of say you need to make sure the comparisons are accurate. We charge the same as most other production companies in the UK and potentially around the world. And it's just working out, we may quote 50 moving lights and someone else may quote 10. So obviously that would be a lot more expensive. It will come with more trucking, a bigger truck, more labour, more crew to plug it in. So it's really kind of, we always break our quotes down line by line. Because then you can go, right, 6 wash lights, 1 stage, 1 DJ booth. For example, a dance floor, it could be a hired dance floor, which would be maybe £1,500 or less, or it could be totally custom made. The cost of renting something in compared to someone hand making a wooden dance floor, painted or sprayed with a logo or something, there's a huge change. So if you see a dance floor for £7,000 and a dance floor for £1,500, they're not charging more. I think they're just quoting on a very different element. So
you need to ask the questions, why, what's the difference?
Exactly.
And actually, when it comes to dance floors, for example, that's really big visual statement. So I think sometimes not having a stock dance floor, although it's a cheaper option, isn't always the best way to go, because that's a huge visual impact.
Again, it's for the photos, by the time people get to the dance floor, people normally have had a few drinks. They're not going to really notice the finish of the dance floor. But the next day or the next few months when you see the photos, that's when you'll see a dance floor, which, because it's hired, it's been used before, it's been danced on by thousands of people.
It's a bit dull,
It's been scratched, it's not going to look as good. So I don't think people really notice on the night, but it's when you see the photos, the wedding video, you're like, okay, that's when people are sober watching, the amazing day back.
You want that photo
And that's when
moment.
it's the photo moment, exactly.
So if, let's say as a planner, I'm researching production companies, or if a couple are planning their wedding and researching production companies, what would you recommend they do in order to find their production company?
A good way to do is probably write a brief with your wedding planner and work out what you actually want. That way you can send a document to your production companies and they can all quote on exactly the same thing.
So obviously you can get comparisons.
Exactly, getting more than one quote is just an intelligent thing to do. But if you make everyone quote off the same, the same hymn sheet, the same list, it just means that, everyone, you're getting quotes back which are all for the same things. And sometimes you might go for a different supplier and you might be surprised that it's not exactly how you wanted it. And it could be very simple, so I'd like a stage which is 5 meters wide by 3 meters deep, or I'd like a stage to house this band which is 7-piece. I'd like to have, white carpet and gold mirror fascia, which is the front of the stage, or all black carpet. There's so many options. And obviously the cost of a wooden frontage, which is painted beige or white or any colour you want, compared to a mirror front, there's quite a big difference. But a mirrored front is, some people really like the look of it. And that's where the prices will vary massively.
So really thinking as much detail as you can when you're doing that initial inquiry, getting the quote back and doing a comparison and really trying to understand what each production company are quoting. But I would also maybe say, have a look at the professionalism and the response times from that production company, because a lot of your job, you're providing a service. So
Indeed.
I think they want to make sure that, one, the price is right, and that doesn't necessarily have to mean the cheapest. That your professionalism and response times are great, and maybe even having a call with that production company just to make sure, and checking their portfolio work.
That's always good. I think also giving people enough time. We often get responses, hi, I'm looking for a quote, I'm getting married. can you send me something tomorrow?
Like me. I wanted now.
And it can be done, but it's rushed. And when we rush things, we put some allocations and buffers in there. So we know that, we're covered should the time change slightly, or if the venue's got difficult access to get into. So if we can have a bit of time, have a call, have some questions back and forth, it will allow us to kind of do a more accurate pricing.
Yeah.
We always like, as a company, to say your cost is this, and by the way, we've found savings, we can lower it.
Yes.
Because that makes people happy. We never want to say, here's a cost, and we forgot to allow 10 guys to load in because there's no stairs to the venue. Then it means we have to go, up and above and beyond in pricing. So
yeah. So when a couple are getting comparable quotes from other production companies, you definitely will rather overquote, so that you know that the only thing that can come down with the budget is that it comes down rather than it going up. So I think what a couple could do is work with you then to say, actually, this is the budget we're working to. What would you recommend? What can we lose that doesn't impact the visual aesthetics that we're trying to achieve? All the practicalities as well. Like, I know that you do a huge amount of health and safety and
I think you're right. Yeah, we always kind of, put buffers in the quotes. We always like to say we'll bring the cost down rather than going up.
Yeah.
We know that when people get married, they quite often will stretch every last penny for their amazing day.
Yes.
So we really want to kind of help and say, look, we quoted this, we can talk about the finish and bring it down.
Yeah.
And there's so many things that vary, like access to the venue. Can we get a truck near the doors? Is there a staircase? Are there lifts? Sometimes, certainly in Scotland, there's a, lovely old ancient wall and they want to have a marquee behind it. So everything's got to be carried over this wall. So there's so many things. Yeah. And quite often we'll do an initial quotation before a site visit happens. And that really means we have to kind of put a few buffers in our end, just so we're covered. So and obviously if it's easier, then we can, remove it from the quote. But
But I think when they're looking for their production company, do that research, have a look at their portfolio, have a look at a budget, but also don't make a decision necessarily on the price that they're sending.
There's the price that we'd recommend. And of course, we want to have amazing lights, amazing sound, the best stage and dance floor, because for us, we'd rather start high. Yes. It's your special day. And then we can work with you guys and bring it down and, cut the budget and, even have calls and offer suggestions for savings, and tips, I guess, tricks that we know that people won't notice, or that's an easy way to cut a bit of a budget. So there's certainly ways to do it.
But then you move on and have a site visit, which is so important. Like you've just identified access, all of those sorts of things. So when you have a site visit with either the planner or the couple, you really want to be making sure you're walking through the whole day from start to finish so that you can think of everything and get a really comprehensive quote. So
I think allow enough time as well. As you said, let's do it from the guest journey. So we want to go as a guest from the second they arrive. Right, they're arriving here. What's the vision? Are there flowers flanking the doorway? Are there gas flambeaux? Do we need lighting? What time are people arriving? Is there music from the entrance? Walking into a quiet venue is never... it's never warming, never exciting. So having even some background music or having a string quartet potentially.
You want to create that ambience from
it's a sense of occasion. You're arriving and, you hear the music and it's exciting. Yeah. So it's stepping through, the walkways, fine, we're arriving at maybe 2:00 for a ceremony. What time are we leaving? You don't want to walk down a dark corridor on the way out. So it's just reminding that every element and what time and what part of the day you'll be in those sections. Yeah. It really works for everyone.
Yeah. And like you said, having a site visit can identify issues like access. Yep. Also speaking to your venue about setup times, because that's going to affect your overall quote, isn't it? Can you set up the day before with a smaller team, or are you going to need to put everybody on it in the morning to get the build done? Yeah.
Everything's possible. There's some unique venues in London where you have 90 minutes to set up.
I know, that's insane.
And it's kind of, the crew costs are huge because you have to get everything done in 90 minutes. Yeah. Whereas kind of more out-of-town venues, destination weddings, you might get longer. You might be booking it for 1, 2, 3 days. So therefore, if there's an area the guests won't be in, if the crew can set up for 8 hours, you'll need less people. Yeah. So it's kind of, and you pay the same. Our guys are charged by the day. So if you need 6 guys or 2 guys, obviously it's a nice big cost saving. So, and it's working out when you need to be set, obviously factoring in sound checks, any speech rehearsals, things like that always impact on the time. So quite often it's like, right, you have 8 hours. Then it's, the band need an hour to sound check. Then this needs to happen. So all of a sudden your get-in time has been cut to 3-4 hours, which will then raise the crew costs. Yeah. So if you think about it from the beginning, your first quote or your second quote will be very accurate.
Yes.
Because we've got all the information.
Amazing. And actually, a couple should really be writing out their schedule from early doors and really factoring in all the elements about, having the rehearsals, the movement of guests, so that they've got a really clear indication of schedule. So you guys have got something really solid to work on.
Yeah. And when you go to a supplier, they're like, wow, these people have thought about it.
Yeah.
So you kind of want to reciprocate and give the time to think about their wedding as well and go, okay, here's a really nice timing sheet. So we can, do the setup for the ceremony here. We can set up the wedding breakfast or the dinner, whatever it's going to be then. Mm-hmm. And it kind of just makes us, give us more to think about.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So as a production company, you don't just look after the dance floor or the lighting. You're also there to look after the individual supplier needs as well. And on the day, you can't just make things magically appear.
No.
So I think, I know we spoke before, having maybe a log of all of the suppliers that are being booked on that job, and for the couple to request all of their requirements, whether that's an armless chair, whether that's, a certain amount of power, what they're going to draw, all sorts of things, just so that you're prepared beforehand.
Because beforehand, it's so simple to kind of solve these needs and requests.
Yeah.
Like, a string quartet, as you said, they'll need armless chairs because they can't play otherwise. On the day, trying to find 4 armless chairs, sometimes in the venue, is quite difficult. Whereas if we know about it a day or two in advance, or when we're doing the quote, we have them in our warehouse. For us to add 4 armless chairs to a truck is a very simple task. It takes 30 seconds.
Yeah.
But the amount of times we've been running around venues trying to find these last minute requests, and they're not always solvable. We obviously try.
Yeah.
Then on to catering. If you're bringing external catering in, they will need ovens, warming plates, cookers, all this kind of stuff. They always need power. They use a lot of power. Mm-hmm. So once we've allowed for the venue power maybe, or the generators to power our lighting and our sound, when the caterers say, oh, I suddenly need a huge amount of power for the ovens, it's something that we need to know in advance. Yeah. And if we know in advance, when the caterers arrive, the plugs will be laid out, ready to go, and they'll plug in and they'll start cooking. So it'll just make everything stress-free. Yep. Everything's kind of set and calm when people arrive.
It's nothing worse than being in a situation where you're like, do we cook the dinner or do we have the lights on?
It's happened, yeah. It has happened.
Yeah.
Not often, but we did a wedding once and it was, do you want the lighting or do you want the ovens? So we did half and half. So
I think it's just making sure that you're really, really organised and you've really considered every single step of the day in detail. Yep. Not only the timings, and weddings always will overrun. So really making sure that you're factoring in that extra time, but really thinking about what every single supplier needs so that you can look after them.
And just buffers to the timings as well, which I think is more about the planning. But if a photo's run over 15 minutes, no one's going to mind with a glass of champagne chatting to friends and family. Yeah. So it's just building in buffers all over the day so you have flexibility and you're not rushing to get to the next element.
Yeah. So I suppose we've booked you. We've had a site visit. We've now got a really good proposal. What happens in the planning process in the office or then leading up to the wedding day setup? A
huge amount, which I guess is why people are paid for the service. They don't need to worry about it.
Yeah.
So when we're booked for a wedding, it's confirmed. We'll then start doing floor plans. We'll then start doing full designs. People want to see now, in 3D, what their stage looks like, what their room looks like, furniture, table linens, and we kind of help everyone bring it together. So we will kind of do mood boards with the florist, and we'll bring in the stage colour, the carpet colour, the dance floor, and kind of tie it all together. So there's a mood board, like an overall mood board for the wedding.
I think that's so important because not everybody's visual.
No,
so
exactly.
I think it really helps, and then everybody knows, the couple know what they're going to expect then on the day.
And sometimes if it's asked for, we can do everything in 3D. So we could render the whole room in 3D. So if you're not that visual, you can go, I love that colour, I'm not a fan of that, right, let's swap it out.
Yeah, it looks so
just
cool.
leaves, it's like no surprises on the day. It means you know what you're going to walk into, so you're relaxed, which is, I think, how you want to be on the day.
Absolutely.
So design. So we do a lot of design process, floor plans, and also we normally need to submit floor plans to the venue for health and safety reasons. Showing the band the floor plan. Are you happy your band will fit on the stage?
Yeah.
Where is the sound desk going to go? Where the speaker's going to go? So there's so many things that have to kind of come together quite accurately.
Yeah.
So that's the design process. And then once that's done, there'll be a few versions back and forth. You kind of get a look, once it's on a floor plan, you get a feel about how the event's going to be. And you might be, it's a bit tight there, or do we really want the bar that close to the dance floor? Maybe we bring it down a bit. If we think there's going to be everyone on the dance floor, then maybe we want to kind of give a bit of space for spill off. Things like that. And then we'll go into health and safety, which is very necessary, not the most interesting, but all the venues require it. So everything we do now, our equipment needs to be tested, so PAT tested. Anything in the air has to be tested every 6 months, and we have to give all the certificates to the venue. So it's testing, prepping, getting it all together. If we're doing a job with a very big band, we'll bring the sound engineers in a day or two early so they can set up the desk, program everything, get the microphones out, check everything, which means that when we pack it up again and bring it to the venue, we know that everything's been set up, everything's working, everything's tested, which means, again,
no surprises.
No surprises on the day. And then, we have a big warehouse team. So you'll see hundreds of boxes coming off a truck. Every single box has been opened, tested, the light's been turned on, is the bulb still working, are all the things inside working? So everything has gone through by a team in advance, maybe 3-4 days earlier. It's put in a pile, marked up for your wedding, and then loaded onto the truck. So even before we get to the venue, there's been tens of days, of people prepping, checking, designing, doing all the venue certification, stuff like that. So
I just assumed you clicked your fingers and it was all done on the day.
If we could, that'd be brilliant.
Yeah, because I've seen how hard and how many people can be on site and build and create something in such a short space of time, but actually you're only able to do that because of the prep work that you do beforehand.
It's like the florists, I'm sure they'll describe later how, they go to the flower market, they source the best flowers. Same for us, we're not going to buy the flowers, we are prepping, testing, repairing, making sure everything works. So there's a huge prep for all the suppliers involved. Even photographers thinking about the venue, the light levels we're going to be shooting. So everyone does a lot of work in advance. And I don't think you always appreciate it, because if you don't see it happening, you're not in the industry, you wouldn't think, oh, there must be 10 guys in the warehouse right now loading the truck. So it's kind of the forgotten thing, but of course, you don't think about that on your wedding.
No. And I suppose you don't want to be thinking about that on your wedding, but if you think about it beforehand, you're doing absolutely everything you can to make sure that the setup is done smoothly.
Exactly.
So, and then on the day you're there to set up, do you stay? Is there somebody?
We all stay, yes. So we normally give the project manager who's met you on the first meeting, who's on the first quotation, we will have them throughout the whole process, which means any conversation that's been had in passing or any email was picked up on, so nothing's forgotten. So if you said, can I have this done at this time, it's the same person. We find that handing information over is great, but sometimes things are missed. So we're having the same point of contact from start to finish really means you know them, you're comfortable with them. It's quickly, oh, would you mind if this is done quickly? Like, you know the team and you have a familiar face when you're there at your wedding.
I think that's really important. Fantastic.
And then staying, yes, obviously once everything's set and done, there's the sound engineers, the lighting engineers. There are people on site to run it and make sure everything works and to make sure kind of as you expect.
So you run the day and then it's packed down.
So then the dream is gone, within hours it's packed up. And
it comes down a lot quicker than it goes up.
It does. It comes out very, very quickly. But again, the guys some of them have been there for 12, maybe 18 hours. If they're arriving at 7 a.m. to set up, the wedding then runs in the afternoon into the evening. They're there at midnight packing up again. So they've been long days. So that's why if we know the timings in advance, we may split the shifts. We may have like a morning team to set it up. They can leave and we bring an evening team in to run the show, which is quite good because they're fresh, they're not tired, they're on the ball. And then they can run the evening show and do the pack up. So that's why we always ask at the beginning the timings. And people are always like, oh, maybe midnight, maybe 2. It does make a big difference.
I do say to my couples, even if you want to carry on with your own speaker, I think having an end time so that you can pay for your suppliers and they know a finish time, because there's nothing worse than not having a plan and no one knows what they're doing and everyone's a bit tired.
Everyone's at midnight, like, what do we do? The guests are drunk, they're having a great time. It's kind of
and that's a priority. That's a priority for that the guests are having a great time. But also, I think if you've pre-planned and pre-booked and prepaid, then everyone knows where they stand.
And sometimes, the main party will finish at midnight, 1 a.m. And then we'll leave some uplighters and a small PA system, maybe with an iPod plug-in.
So the person that we've been liaising with in the office will also be there on site as well during the wedding. To sort of
absolutely.
Run the event.
It's the best way, basically. So someone who's been there for the initial conversations, done your site visits, got to know you guys as a couple. We always have them throughout the whole event. So they're there for the build-up, for the pre-production, and they're just there to be on hand to help you with anything you need. So we find having the same person throughout the process and throughout the journey is the best way to do it. Having someone from the initial quotation, the initial brief, the initial call, through to the site visit, and to be there on the day really is the best way to do it.
Yeah.
It means any small conversations you've had, any passing comments, they pick up and they really know the details, the ins and the outs of the wedding. Handing it over could work, but we never find it's the same experience.
Yeah.
Because you've also got a relationship with the people on site who know you and the wedding. So we find it's the best way to do it.
And I think that's reassuring for the couple as well, that they know somebody who knows the plan, is there to really...
Yeah, it's a familiar face. You know, it's, hey, Justin, would you mind if we did this quickly, or could you help me out with this, you know? And they're there as well, the production guys, there's always a couple in each room, running the sound, running the lighting. And if the bride and groom see a familiar face, sometimes it's like, oh, would you mind dropping these shoes at reception for me? Or have you seen my dad? You know, they're not the wedding planner, but there's always someone who you know who's there to help you on the day. I
love the fact that all the suppliers in the industry, we club together. We're not just focused on what we're doing, we all work as a team and we all help each other out.
Yeah, we need it. It has to be, to deliver a perfect wedding, everyone has to be on their game. You need a great wedding video, you need a great production team, great florist, you know, and often if the caterers are running late, setting the tables because of late delivery, our guys would jump in and help, you know, same as if we're running behind, our other industry friends would help us. So it's everyone together kind of delivering one goal, basically.
Yeah. And you've set up, but then it's a massive day for you. So there's a lot of work that goes into building everything, but then you are usually there on site for the same amount of time as us as planners as well. 18, 20-hour days.
Yeah, people are up. Yeah, they're up before, you know, the bride and groom are awake. They're loading in at 6, 7 a.m, setting up all day. Rehearsals, sound checks, then you guys arrive, the bride and groom. Then it's the wedding, it's the big event. Then they're partying, and then when you guys go to bed, it's then, you know, pack down, you know, get it out and, you know,
and then it's all over and it's done. And then you go back to your warehouse.
And then same reverse. So everything comes off the truck, everything's open. Have we left anything behind? Is everything working? You know, has someone spilt a drink on a light and damaged it? So everything then gets tested, checked, put back on the shelf. So we know that when we come to the next wedding or the next event, everything is repaired, ready to go and clean, basically.
Would you ever recommend a couple just have a small buffer in their budget to allow them for damage at a wedding? Or
it's a good question. It's always a difficult one about who covers what. Our theory is that if you have our team on site, they are there, they're sober, they're there to look after you guys and the kit. Yes, never. So yeah, they're there to kind of look after the kit. And if they see someone sloshing some drinks around, we'll kind of, you know, discreetly move things out of the way or guide them in the right direction. But if you are just hiring the equipment from us and there's no one from our team, then yes, you are responsible to look after it. So
that's good to know. So you've given us so much fantastic advice throughout our conversation, but to summarize, what would the one piece of advice that you would give to a couple who are planning their wedding with production?
Probably just time, you know, spend enough time speaking to your production people, looking at the quote. I know it's not the most interesting thing to do, but yeah, spend time, ask questions. You know, we're always very happy to talk you through each line and say, this is what this does, this is why you need this, and advise ways to kind of bring costs down, increase costs, make it more interesting. So yeah, just spend the time and really get to know, you know, what everyone's doing. I think it's probably the best one.
So I think so now we understand what production is and what you guys do. And I think it's just remembering that it's not just the visual aesthetics. You don't just do the pretty, you do the practical as well.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect way to describe it.
Yeah. There you go. Thank you so much for your time. I'm going to be finishing all of my interviews with a really quick fire round question.
Okay.
I hope you don't mind.
No,
I just thought I'd just lighten the mood and just give us a bit of fun, okay?
Perfect.
So, just to want to get to know you a bit better. So, without even thinking, what's your favourite holiday destination?
I like sailing in Greece. I like to get away from the crazy London town travelling and just be somewhere with the sea, calm, relaxing.
Okay.
That's me.
You a tea or coffee drinker?
Neither, actually.
Champagne.
Champagne, yes, yeah. No, not big hot drinks, but yes, champagne anytime.
Okay. Night owl or early bird?
Night owl.
Yeah. What's your guilty pleasure?
Probably too many drinks.
Yeah.
On a night out with friends. Cocktails, yes.
What's your weird celebrity crush?
Weird celebrity crush? Tough one.
Don't have one?
I actually don't have one.
I don't think
I need to have one for next time I get asked that question.
Okay, I'll ask you next time I see you.
Perfect.
Karaoke song of choice?
It has to be a classic. Has to be something Queen related.
Yeah.
If you're going to do it, you need to own the room.
You're going to give us a...
No.
We've not rehearsed. Favourite food?
Japanese.
Good choice. And if you won the lottery, what would your first purchase be?
Good question. I don't know, actually.
Do you not?
No.
I think about it all the time.
I always struggle, like, would you have a chef, a driver, or a maid?
Yeah.
And I struggle. I enjoy cooking.
Yep.
Probably a driver. I enjoy driving as well. So if I won the lottery, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Depends how much, I guess.
Yeah.
Normally it's £2.50.
Yeah. Okay. Well, good to know.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. It's been so good to see you again. Thank you so much.
Love you. Thank you for having us.
Congratulations on your engagement and good luck with your wedding planning. I hope you've enjoyed our conversation today. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, share, basically all of the buttons below, and stay tuned for more in the series as I talk to my industry friends to guide you through the process of how to plan a wedding.